So, you thought you had to diet to lose weight. Well, I beg to differ. And in this live, I'm going to be talking about my methods that have proven successful not just for myself, but for hundreds of other women in nutrition. Eating somewhat intuitively, but a little bit smarter than that. So, let's do a little bit of a warm-up video just while we're waiting for people to arrive. Warm-up video. Let's do a little bit of a warm-up exercise while we're waiting for people to arrive and just getting into the zone of the uproots methods, because our methods are unlike anything else, okay? We use inner work to create outer results. So we use inner work to create your best body. And this is absolutely the only thing that actually does work. And I'm going to talk about specifics with diet specifically in this video. But for now, I just like to get into the uproots zone. So get into a calm, centered zone. So stress management is integral for getting into your best body. And honestly, in my experience dealing with anxiety, and in my experience dealing with other people with depression and all kinds of other, mental health kind of issues, kind of mental unhealth, I've noticed that we typically don't even realize when we're stressed out. So let's do a little bit of a breathing exercise, because this is kind of magic. You can't actually be in a fight or flight mode while you're doing 7-second breathing. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for 7 seconds and out for 7 seconds, and I'm going to count you in. So breathe out all your breath, and then in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold at the top, out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold at the top and out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now that any little kinds of stressors that you've been bringing from wherever else you've been on social media, wherever else you've been in the world, is a little bit more dissipated, we can start talking about ideal body, nature, nutrition. So you and I both know that there are a lot of people in this world who do not struggle with their weight. And you and I both know that most of the people, if not all of the people who are in their best bodies, are not on diets. They're not adhering to keto. They're not cutting, their carbs. They're not going to crazy lengths to be in their best bodies. Most of them are listening to themselves. And what? I'm not live on Facebook? Oh my goodness. I'm not live on Facebook. Just 1 second, guys. I forgot I needed to do this one last little step here. Okay. I'm live everywhere else though. Okay, sorry about that. Everybody on Facebook, welcome. We are talking about having to diet to lose weight. For everybody joining us on Facebook right now, I am going to talk about the Uproots wellness methods and what I have seen in my research and what I have learned as a nutritionist, and what I have experienced as myself, somebody who struggled with their weight, and what I've seen in my students as well, as far as what you need to eat to actually lose weight. So let's start with the research because I think this gets lost a lot of times. Okay, my background, my academic background in research is in theory, which means I look at the whole picture of things. I look at very large concepts and find the the facets of it that run through everything. So I find essentially the truth within huge, large systems of things. So when we're talking about dieting and food, there are a lot of like specific research that has been done on different kinds of diets. You know, you'll hear a ton about, you know, right now keto is huge, you know, which is pretty much just a repackaged kind of Atkins diet from the 90s. And that actually has some accredited background to it. It isn't just some schmo. There are doctors who prescribe the ketogenic diet, which is part of why it's such a huge rage right now. But like everybody's heard these kinds of specific sort of results that people have found on different kinds of diets. But what I've found in, you know, literature reviews, so again, taking that big, large view of diets and the results and what is actually true, what you need to eat in order to lose weight, the results from all of the different kinds of diets. So I'm talking like, you know, right now and in for the past like couple decades, we've had this real big hate on for carbohydrates. Before this, for, you know, a couple decades, maybe a few decades, we culturally had this huge hate on for fat. So that's where all that low fat craze came from. I don't know that we see it so much in the grocery stores anymore, but I remember when I was a little kid, I saw, you know, like low fat this and low fat that and whatever. And now where you'll see like keto, you know, low carb this and low carb that, or paleo. Paleo isn't necessarily low carb, but it is very sort of protein centric. So yeah, right now we've had for the past couple decades this real hate on for carbs and blaming carbs for our weight gain, and actually going forward now there is sort of this like diet, like this weight loss craze around veganism. So actually like taking our protein levels down, and there actually has been some research that correlates protein intake with obesity and correlates it as causative, so as sort of as the cause, like the direct cause of obesity. It is as causative as sugar, we have found in the most recent research. So this is getting to my point of there are so many different kinds of diets, and when you actually look at all of these different kinds of diets that people use to lose weight, because believe it or not, what I was getting to with the hate on with carbs, believe it or not, some people are actually prescribing a high carb diet to lose weight. And what the research finds is that whether you go on a low carb diet, a high carb, low protein diet, a low fat diet, a Mediterranean diet, a vegan diet, you know, the list goes on. Whatever diet you go on, the results are identical. So if you go on, you know, a low carb diet, versus a low cal diet versus somebody on a low fat diet or whatever, or not individuals, but groups of people. When groups of people go on these different kinds of diets, the results are identical long term. The caveat to this is that the ketogenic and low carb diets do actually result in more weight loss in the short term, because when the carbohydrates are stored as fat, they actually attach to a water molecule. So for every molecule of fat you lose, you're actually losing a molecule of water when you're losing carbohydrate fat. So in the short term, you actually end up losing more weight, not more fat, but more weight because of that extra water weight lost. But in the long term, any other diet will catch up. So, what I believe, and this is not coming from like peer-reviewed research or anything like this. This is coming from my experience with myself having struggled with my weight and not struggling anymore. More on that later. But from myself struggling with my weight, oh, I love you too. Just seeing some comments, I can only see a little bit of comments because I'm right now I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so I can see a little bit of comments sometimes, but not all the time. Oh my gosh, what was I saying? I'll remember. So, oh my gosh, what was I saying? Somebody remind me. So, losing weight, using a diet to lose weight, what I personally believe from my experience is that everybody's body responds differently to different kinds of diets. That is why you can go, like a group of people can go on a high carb diet and lose as a group. The success rate for losing weight can be just as high, identical to people on a keto diet, on a low carb diet. And though that group of people will have identical results to people on a low fat diet, etc. Because we are looking at a group of people. And some people respond to a low fat diet. Some people respond to a low carb diet. Some people respond to a high carb diet. Some people respond to a low cal diet. Some people respond to intermittent fasting. And some people respond to, low sugar and high fat, What will work for you, in my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, what will work for you to get you into your ideal body is inherently personalized to you. And this is why intuitive eating has been covertly marketed as a weight loss tactic and not so covertly marketed as a weight loss tactic by some people. By the creators of intuitive eating, it has been covertly marketed as a weight loss tactic. And yes, I have proven this with actual literary research on their wording that they use. But it has been specifically marketed as a weight loss tactic, intuitive eating, by nutritionists or by health coaches, etc. Because sometimes it does actually result in weight loss. Because sometimes people, through the methods of intuitive eating, can find out which diet they're supposed to be on. They can find out because they're naturally attracted to it. Myself, I'm not a big carb person. I eat bread sometimes and it tastes like gum to me. And that is like sacrilege to other people. And I see people in their best bodies that are absolute carb fiends. They live on pasta and breads, etc., because their body runs best on these things. I look at their food and I'm like, where's the protein, because my body runs really well on protein. And I'm like, where's the veg? I love fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And for them, it's like that would seem like a scarcity kind of diet for them if they had to cut out their carbohydrates. And ideally, they shouldn't be cutting out their carbohydrates. So if you put, that kind of person who actually thrives on a high carb diet on, a high protein diet, they're not going to succeed. And if you put that person who thrives on a high protein diet on a high carb diet, they're not going to succeed. And if you put that person who, is going to thrive and get into their best body on a high fat diet on either one of these diets, they're not going to succeed. So when you're looking at groups of people on all these different diets, you're going to get the exact same success rate because there's going to be a portion of them that really respond to it and the rest of them aren't because they're on the wrong diet. And this is why we can't find one diet to fit all of us. When we look at what the healthiest diet is, honestly, because I went and got a degree in nutrition because my students kept asking me, what should I eat? What should I eat? What should I eat? And not having the credentials, I always kind of personally believed this, but not having the credentials, I decided to go out and get credentials so that I could actually feel confident telling people what they should be eating to get into their best body. And what I found was that what you should be eating Like the best diet that you should be eating is stuff that you already understand very well. You should be eating, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. You should be eating, a bit of protein, a bit of carbs, and a bit of vegetables every meal. You should be eating probably smaller portions than you are if you're from the West, because right now we eat huge portions. But like this stuff is so basic. So I teach like the basics of nutrition in my Ideal Body Nature Nutrition courses, but basically the premise of Ideal Body Nature Nutrition is understanding these basic nutritional needs, these basic health needs that everybody requires, and then doing actual research with yourself. So using the principles of intuitive eating to test out how you respond to these different kinds of these different ways of eating, these different diets. And maybe you'll be right smack dab in the middle and you'll just need, balanced macros, but maybe you're going to do exceptionally well on a paleo diet where you cut out grains and etc. Or a keto diet where, you're just running on fat and protein and that is just ideal for you. Or maybe you are, and I've seen actually the majority of people in their best bodies, I feel like anyways, they eat a lot of carbs. Maybe you're one of those people who loves carbs and who actually thrives fueling your body on that. So the premise of Ideal Body Nature Nutrition is to use the principles of intuitive eating to actually figure out what your body needs. And then there is this other layer of placebo. And you probably are aware of the word placebo as actually something that debunks, facts. Oh, well, this is just placebo. We use these phrases to shrug off the placebo effect as actually something that's just like a debunker, that is something, it just has this really negative connotation, like an untruth connotation. But what placebo actually is showing us the power of what we think about things having physical effects in our body. And like placebo is insane if you look at it from the perspective of like, oh, look at what the mind does to the body. Look at when people believe that they're taking a medication that's actually a sugar pill. Look at how often you can actually get a response from the body that sugar pill generally necessarily it results in weight loss. And I have seen this happen with people when they simply stop shaming themselves for eating a certain food, whether it's eating ice cream every single night. And I've seen this actually happen. Just the stopping the shame for eating the damn ice cream can actually result in dramatic weight loss. Now, they still ate the ice cream every night. They just stopped shaming themselves and they dropped, I think it was like 40 pounds, something like that. It was dramatic. This is the next layer of Ideal Body Nature Nutrition, which we can't get into super in depth here. But for this season, when eating is such an integral part of our enjoyment, I mean, we eat for all kinds of reasons. That's another level of Ideal Body Nature Nutrition. When you're eating for bonding, you're eating for adventure, you're eating for fun and joy and festivities. Like, this is good for you. This is good for your health. You are a holistic being who requires all kinds of enjoyment and you have all kinds of nutritional needs. They aren't just biological needs. You have mental, emotional, and spiritual needs for food, for entertainment, for enjoyment, for bonding, for all of the things that I was talking about. So especially in this time of year when, food is just such an integral part of everything that's going on in our enjoyment, this is healthy to enjoy your food, to eat these delicious things that are around. And I want to do a narrative exposure therapy with you guys to clear some of this shame from the past. But first, I just wanted to let you guys know, because if you guys know, I'll give you a very quick my background. A little story. I struggled with my weight my whole life. I ended up in university, and I had been studying in the East with like healers and Eastern philosophy masters, and became kind of a master healer in the East, and then came to university in the West and became a serious academic. And in that, in my training in the East and the West, I really found myself. I healed all of my micro traumas, my independent micro traumas, and I really became the best version of myself. And my weight just dropped off. Now, yes, I was eating great, and I was working out and all that stuff, but I had always been eating healthily and living actively. Those things are really important for, anybody living in their best self. But this was like effortless. Like, I had tried everything to lose weight before, and nothing ever worked, but this was just effortless. The weight just fell off of me, and I lived like that happily for years until I got into a relationship. And over the past 4 years, being in a relationship brought up familial microtrauma for me. So in this familial microtrauma, I gained a whole bunch of weight again. And I have just been on a journey. I'm still on this journey to heal this microtrauma and figure out new courses of action, new therapies, new tools, because that's what I initially did with Uproots Wellness. I created therapies and tools to get people into their best bodies easily, independently. And then when I gained weight from interdependent living, from familial trauma, and now I've developed new tools and new therapies that I'm going to be bringing to you guys on in the new year for your New Year's resolutions to get into your best body. And I've been testing them, and I have lost 20 pounds so far. So this is my 4th week doing strictly body positive, strictly Uproots Wellness methods, like aligned with my ideal body nature. I have been eating more than I was, and exercising less, and I'm losing more weight than I was on a traditional kind of trajectory, working out more and eating lower calorie, etc. So I'm losing more weight now, just doing the 100% body positive Uproots Wellness methods, and I feel phenomenal. It's so great. I'm really happy to go into the holidays like this. But I want to do a narrative exposure therapy with you guys so that you can enjoy the kind of results and enjoy, this season without A, feeling shame, but B, gaining weight because of that shame. Okay, so let's just do this. If you've got your pens and papers, I've got my little iPad here and my Apple Pencil, because I write like a maniac all the time, and this really decreases my paper consumption. So narrative exposure therapy is one of the most effective ways to address trauma. It is often used in war zones because of the high efficacy of it and the ease. And I'm all about that ease, ladies and gentlemen. If you know me, I'm all about that ease. Even my methods at Uproots Wellness, my best body methods, it's like 3 steps a day, super easy. Most of them are done laying down. So grab your pen and paper. Right now, we're going to talk about the past and how you have shamed yourself in the past for wanting different foods, for having a bigger appetite than you should have, for loving carbs. If you're that person who actually thrives on carbs and therefore you love carbs, I really feel for you, because the war on carbs is like terrible. But whatever kind of shame you've had in the past around food, around, things that you shouldn't be eating or how much you shouldn't be eating, etc., I'd like you to just journal that out. Just write about it, like how you used to shame yourself, and what you used to say to yourself, and what kinds of foods you used to like tell yourself were off limits or whatever, or even, it just went through a whole bunch of research. And if you just logged on, I would suggest that you go through the replay, because this is really important if you want to eat to get into your best body. You really need to understand what the research says so that you can get your head on straight. So if you used to think that, eating low calorie was like the only way to lose weight, and now you've found out through the research that actually that leads to weight loss just as often as, a low fat diet leads to weight loss, or a low carb diet leads to weight loss, or a low protein and high carb diet leads to weight loss. You can tell yourself these things so that you can allow that belief to just go away. So write out how you used to believe certain foods led to weight loss, or cutting out certain foods lead to weight loss, and then and how you've restricted yourself. Then I want you to move into the present and start journaling about how you're going to actually relate to yourself now and how you're going to relate to your food now. How you're going to stop shaming yourself for your appetite. How you're going to start trusting yourself.